What's up, everybody? My name is Tyler, and I will be showing you in this video series how we are going to model a low poly stylized piano asset. As you see here on the screen, we have this concept art, and then we will be using this concept art to inspire kind of a model that looks similar to what you see here. And so I'll be walking through the pipeline and the process of modeling out this low poly asset. And then once we model this out using some simple modeling techniques, we will then go into our unwrap phase where we will cut the seams and unwrap our model and lay it completely flat to then prepare and export out for our texturing. Now we will be texturing in Substance Painter, although the techniques that you will be using could be also used in Photoshop or any other texturing package you would like. Once the texture is complete, we will then be going back into Blender where we're going to stage our scene, work with some lighting, and then start to create the cameras and the render for our portfolio piece. Now this tutorial is fairly beginner. It's going to be a fairly low level, although knowing a little bit will definitely go a long way, because I'm not going to go too deep into every single part of Blender that I'm using. Rather just talk about kind of the overall techniques that can then also be applied to any software you are using. So I sure hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's get started. So the first thing I want to go over is my key bindings, because I personally do jump between several different modeling packages. I like to have the industry compatible key bindings because when working in Blender, it's a little bit different than what is done in Maya, Maya, Modo, and 3ds Max and other typical modeling software packages. So what I do is I go into my preferences under Edit, Preferences, and I'm going to go into my key map. So once I'm in my key map, I will then, by default, it should be at Blender, I would assume. But I'm going to change this to industry compatible. And now it will give me the industry compatible key binding. So this would include like the to move BW, E, R, to move and rotate and scale, but also just the those kinds of things. And there you'll just find it a little bit easier when you're actually working in modeling, follow along with this tutorial. Now what I will say is most Blender tutorials, just kind of be warned that a lot of Blender tutorials will be using Blender key bindings. So it's perfectly fine if you use Blender key bindings, and I will try to do my best to kind of talk through what I'm doing. So if I'm scaling something, I'll announce I'm scaling it. If I'm beveling it, I'll announce that I'm beveling it. But just also be aware that the industry compatible key bindings are a little bit different than the Blender standard key bindings. So that's what I do is I go to industry compatible. Then the other thing I will do is I'm going to go in here and just hit search. Alright, so you go to name and then search. So I like to have all my search menus to be spacebar. So all I do by default they're usually tab. So I just go through each one of these and change them all my search menus to spacebar, because I find myself oftentimes hitting the spacebar on accident. But also I just like to I feel like because I do so often, it's actually pretty convenient for me, because by default tab is that, and then space is actually animation. So therefore I like to change my animation to play animation to tab. That's kind of the big difference I have made in this, is I changed my animation, my play animation to tab, and my search menus all assigned to spacebar, as well as my industry compatible keys. Now of course this is completely up to you, and you're more than welcome to change that. So what we're going to do here is I already have my reference in my peer ref board. Now this reference was done by Sophia, who is a Blizzard artist. So she's a fantastic artist who specializes in low poly stylized game assets. Actually, if I bring down her full work here, let me go ahead and let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and move this over here. But you'll actually see she has animated, and here's kind of what we're going for, is this low poly game asset. Now I'm not going to go into all the details of the extra stuff that she had added. I do think she did a fantastic job. But all we're going to be focusing on is more or less is just the piano and this bench right here. So I think that the single reference will do as well. Now you can put this on your second monitor, as I typically would do. But let's go ahead and get started. I think what I'm going to start here is I'm going to start off with the foot base. I want to create this foot base. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to move this off to the other screen for now. So let's see, I'm going to turn on some screencast keys so you can see what I'm doing there. But what we want to do is we want to go ahead and go to our add mesh, and we're going to add a cube. So I'm just going to add a new cube mesh, and I want to stretch this out a little bit so it's about the length I would expect it to be. And actually I might bring this back over here just so we can get an idea. And moving around is the same as Maya or Modo. So remember, it's the Alt, and then the left mouse button will be your rotate. Middle mouse button with the Alt will be your pan, and then you can with the left mouse button you can zoom in and out, or you can also just use your scroll wheel. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and scale this down just a hair, and I noticed that we have this silhouette. I'm going to grab my. Let's see if my pin's working today. Sometimes it works. Oh, there it goes. So as you see, we have the silhouette here, and it's tapered in just a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and taper this in. But I just want to taper in only this top face. So what I'm gonna do is hit my 3 key, and that's gonna enable my face mode. Otherwise, you can also sit here. We have our point, our vertex select, our edge select, and our face select. So again, it's 1, 2, and 3 key to choose any one of those. So with my 3 key, I can then hit my 3 key and go into face select, and I'm going to just scale this down just a hair. I think maybe right about here. It doesn't be a lot, it's just be enough to kind of shift that silhouette, because remember, after all, especially when working low poly modeling, you want to make sure the silhouette looks looks appropriate, because silhouettes can go a long way when coming to low poly modeling. So now if I were to actually look at this whole entire asset, and maybe it's best if actually I bring down the image right here. So if I look at this from behind, you'll see this actually is one big piece that kind of connects all around, including the bottom. So what I want to do here is I want to start to make this go up and then all the way across. And we'll worry about this backside in just a moment. For right now, we're just going to focus on making this go all the way across. So what I'm going to do is go back into my Blender, and then I'm going to see, in this case, I'm going to use a loop cut. So it's Alt C. I just want to drag it back here just a little bit. Now this is where I expect my my piano to start coming out or jetting up here. So I'm just going to actually hit Alt C again. I'm going to cut right down the middle, and so now I have it divided up. If I hit the Q key, that will drop my loop cut tool, and I'm going to hit the 3 key. Oops, let's go hit the 3 key, and now I can select just this polygon here, in which now I'm going to want to move this up with my extrude. So Control E to extrude something up, like so. And actually, I want to just go with my move key and move this all the way as high as I would expect it to go to the very top. And I think maybe about here is pretty accurate. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to grab these 2 faces here, and I want to extrude those this way. Now, if you see when you hit your Control E to extrude, also extrude over here. I can either extrude by normals or XYZ. I'm going to go ahead and click the XYZ. I'm just going to extrude it across like so. And And now I want to move this forward just a little bit so it kind of matches this edge. Now, if you also go up here to your magnet snaps, you can snap it by increments, or you can also snap by vertex. I'm going to select the snap by vertex, and now I can actually snap it right there. Okay. And I think I want to also snap this back here to that corner as well. So now we have this hard kind of back edge. And I might make this go straight down like so. I think that looks pretty good there. Okay. So now we have this tall silhouette, and I'm actually looking at the silhouette. It looks a little bit too skinny. So I'm going to holding shift. I'm going to left click all these and move this back. I'm going to hit X to turn off my snap. Otherwise, you can hit this snap icon up here and turn that magnet off. I'm going to move it back just a little bit more. I think that looks pretty good about there. And now, next thing I want to do is I'm going to go to my front view, and right now this clears in the front, so I'm going to select all with Control A. I'm going to rotate this till it is the front 90 degrees. And there you go. I'm holding Control as I do that. But also I can type in here -90 where I need. And now I want to move this to about the center, or maybe where I want the center to be. I think maybe this would be a good distance here. I don't think that this is quite thick enough. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just select all these on the bottom, and I'm going to scale this out to make it much thicker. So maybe something like that. And then I want to move off these edges a little bit to make them thicker as well. I think this needs to be moved. Okay. This feels like it reads a little bit better. Maybe I need to move this in just a little more. There you go. Okay, so that looks like it reads just a little bit better. And what I want to do is I want to delete these two faces because I will be mirroring them. So therefore I don't need those mill polygons getting in the way. Okay. Now if I'm going to go to my top view, I want this to be right in the middle. Now if I just drag over the middle, it might not work. But actually, before I even do that, I need to first, this is not perfectly perfectly lined up. So I'm just going to select and drag all these, and I'm going to hit this, pull along the red handle, and then I'm going to go to scale and change that one. So there'll be 3 scales. There'll be 1 or 2 that are 1 and 1 that's different. I'm going to hit 0 there, and now I want to move this to the middle. Now if I were to hold my, if I were to go to my snaps, you'll notice it's still vertex. I want to change it to increment. And now if I try to change it to increment, you see it goes by 1 increments, but I want it to be snapped to the middle increment. Make sure you go absolute grid. So now that if you select absolute grid, it will snap it to the grid lines you see. Okay, cool. So now this will allow me to mirror this. So now we're going to go to our mirror modifier. Now this is something a little bit different in Blender versus Maya. It's similar to 3ds Max, but so what we have here, we have a bunch of different modifier or a bunch of different tabs which we can then manipulate our model. And I'm going to go to the modifier tab, add a modifier. I'm going to hit mirror, and now you'll see it will automatically mirror that that over. And now if I'm just looking at the silhouette, I see I need to make this a little bit further back. So now while this is mirrored, I can't actually select anything over here. I can only manipulate the parts on this side. So I'm going to just move this back. I'm going to turn off my snap grid with the X and just move back a little bit more until it's about right. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. I think I'm pretty happy with how this is going so far. So we'll just take a pause here, and in the next video, we will pick up from this point, and we're going to continue to let's see. I'll go and sketch on there. From that point, we will start to draw, and then we're going to kind of make this so it's a little more stylized, and then we're going to draw our top piece here that has that kind of mantle look, as well as this beveled down below as well. So and we'll just continue to progress through our model for this.